Welcome everyone to quiz class. Today we have 100 questions on the 60s and 70s. And let's begin with question number 1. Which music label purchased Elstree Studios in London in 1969? Universal Music, Virgin Records, or EMI? EMI. Question 2. Which former world leader died on January 24th, 1965? Winston Churchill, Itzhak Ben Zvi, or Harold Holt? Winston Churchill. What 3 U.S. moon landing attempts took place in 1962? Rangers 4, 5, and 6, Rangers 3, 4, and 5, or Rangers 5, 6, and 7? Rangers 3, 4, and 5. What U.S. Conservation Act passed in 1964? The Wilderness Act, the Protection Act, or the Environment Act? The Wilderness Act of 1964. What was 1968 in cultural terms? The year of major U.S. and international events, a shift from 60s into 70s culture, or the initial cracking of the Soviet bloc? The shift from 60s into 70s culture. What disease is retrospectively thought to have killed its first victim in Norway in 1966? Ebola, HIV/AIDS, or SARS? HIV/AIDS. Where did the late 1960s and early 70s art movement, Art Povera, originate from? Bilbao, Spain, Turin, Italy, or Basel, Italy? Turin, Italy. Who was not a second wave feminism leader of the 60s and 70s? Betty Friedan, Elizabeth Warren, or Gloria Steinem? Elizabeth Warren. Which country won 2 FIFA World Cups between 1962 and 1978? Argentina, Brazil, or Germany? Brazil. How long was the 1979 Sino-Vietnam conflict? 5 days, 27 days, or 115 days? 27 days. What children's toy was banned in the mid-1970s? Glass marbles, cap guns, or clackers? Clackers. What 1960 Ford model is now their longest produced nameplate? Thunderbird, Mustang, or Cobra? Mustang. Which pop duo and romantic couple released their debut album in 1965? Sonny Bono and Cher, Paul and Linda McCartney, or Johnny Cash and June Carter? Sonny Bono and Cher. What U.S. beauty brand launched in the 1960s? Maybelline, CoverGirl, or Revlon? CoverGirl. What candy was launched by Wrigley in 1960? Starburst, Swedish Fish, or Skittles? Starburst. What was the U.S. student strike of 1970 in opposition to? The expansion of the Vietnam War into Cambodia, the expansion of the war into Laos, or the expansion of the Vietnam War into China? The expansion of the Vietnam War into Cambodia. Which former First Lady of the U.S. died on November 7, 1962? Grace Anna Coolidge, Edith Wilson, or Anna Eleanor Roosevelt? Anna Eleanor Roosevelt. Which Australian city did Cyclone Tracy devastate in December 1974? Brisbane, Cairns, or Darwin? Darwin. What film starring Jane Fonda and Jon Voight was released in 1978? Kramer vs. Kramer, Coming Home, or Annie Hall? Coming Home. What is the 1973 Arab-Israeli War not also known as? The Yom Kippur War, the January War, or the Ramadan War? The January War. What Andrew Lloyd Webber musical was not written in the 1960s and 70s? Cats, Evita, or Jesus Christ Superstar? Cats. Which foremost scientists received their PhD in 1966? Carl Sagan, Richard Dawkins, or Stephen Hawking? Stephen Hawking. What sport made its debut at the 1976 Winter Olympics? Bobsleigh, speed skiing, or ice dance? Ice dance. Which communist region's coastline boomed with tourists in the 60s? Romania, Yugoslavia, or Bulgaria? Yugoslavia. Which Gaelic language went extinct in 1974? Modern Irish, Scottish Gaelic, or Manx? Manx. How many rejections did Xi Jinping experience before joining the Communist Youth League of China in 1971? 1, 4, or 7? 7. What scientific advancement occurred in 1973? First family DNA mapped, first IVF baby, or the first animal gene cloned? First animal gene cloned. What headquarters break-in led to the Watergate scandal? The Democratic National Committee, the Democratic National Convention, or the Democratic National Community? The Democratic National Committee. What brand did Yvon Chouinard found in 1973? Camelback, Patagonia, or Osprey? Patagonia. Which Roald Dahl book was not published in the 60s? Fantastic Mr. Fox, James and the Giant Peach, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Fantastic Mr. Fox. What beverage wars began in the late 1970s? The beer wars, the cola wars, or the bourbon wars? The cola wars. What musical artist's breakout single Fire and Rain was released in 1970? Paul Simon, David Crosby, or James Taylor? James Taylor. What scientific discovery did a deep-sea submersible make in the Galapagos Islands in 1977? Hydrothermal vents, magma vents, or superheated vents? Hydrothermal vents. What family television show was canceled in 1973 after almost 2 decades on air? The Monkees, Lassie, or Doctor Who? Lassie. What board game was first produced in 1965? Hungry Hungry Hippos, Operation, or Twister? Operation. Which Australian Prime Minister was dismissed from office in 1975? Bob Hawke, Kevin Rudd, or Gough Whitlam? Gough Whitlam. What era of the USSR began in 1964? The Brezhnev era, Andropov era, or the Khrushchev era? The Brezhnev era. What color palettes were popular in the 1960s? Rainbow colors, psychedelic colors, or kaleidoscopic colors? Psychedelic colors. Which U.S. space station re-entry occurred in 1979? Skylab, Spacelab, or Sky Station? Skylab. Which cult novel did film director Alejandro Jodorowsky attempt to adapt in the 1970s? Dune, The Hobbit, or Solaris? Dune. What is a 1970s shirt collar called? Redford collar, Nicholson collar, or Barrymore collar? The Barrymore collar. Which major U.S. airport opened in 1973? O'Hare International, Dallas-Fort Worth International, or Harry Reid International? Dallas-Fort Worth International. Which country's red and white national flag was adopted in 1965? Japan, Georgia, or Canada? Canada. Which fragrance and fashion house launched the men's cologne Eau Sauvage in 1966? Dior, Yves Saint Laurent, or Chanel? Dior. What visual color system was launched as a brand in 1962? Adobe, Pantone, or Benjamin Moore and Company? Pantone. What global sociological trend began in 1960? Employment rate slowed, fertility rate slowed, or life expectancy slowed? Fertility rate slowed. Who set the world record for being the first actor to earn $1 million for a movie role in 1962? Paul Newman, Marlon Brando, or Robert Duvall? Marlon Brando. Which U.S. public figure was born on August 4th, 1961? Barack Obama, Ted Cruz, or Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Barack Obama. What 1970s music genre features four-on-the-floor beats? Rock and roll, folk, or disco? Disco. And we're halfway through. What did Muhammad Ali refuse in March 1966? A winnings payment for a contested fight, an induction into the armed forces, or the disclosure of political donations? Induction into the armed forces. Question 51. What adjective for hip culture was used from the early 1960s? Groovy, swell, or swinging? Swinging. What logo for wool industry certification was launched in 1964? Knotmark, Woolmark, or Merrimark? Woolmark. What U.S. passenger transit company was founded in 1971? Amtrak, Greyhound Lines, or American Airlines? Amtrak. Which crime drama television series started airing in 1976? Heart to Heart, Starsky and Hutch, or Charlie's Angels? Charlie's Angels. Which political figure is captured in the iconic 1960 photo, Heroic Guerrilla Fighter? Che Guevara, Mao Zedong, or Malcolm X? Che Guevara. What camera technology launched in 1963? Varied size film, video cameras, or color Polaroids? Color Polaroids. In which sea was the 1966 SS Heraklion disaster? The Ionian Sea, Adriatic Sea, or the Aegean Sea? The Aegean Sea. What was the first name of Jackie Kennedy's second husband whom she married on October 20th, 1968? Aristotle Onassis, Ariel Onassis, or Aramis Onassis? Aristotle Onassis. Which plane model didn't take its first flight in 1969? Boeing 747, the Concorde, or Airbus A300? Airbus A300. What Iranian revolution began on the 26th of January 1963? The White Revolution, Red Revolution, or Green Revolution? The White Revolution. What is the 1965 Astro Coach lantern more commonly known as? The in-flight light, the lava lamp, or portable telescope? The lava lamp. In the 1979 Air New Zealand Flight 901 disaster, what mountain did the plane fatally fly into? Mount Kirkpatrick, Mount Erebus, or Mount Sidley? Mount Erebus. Who was the world's first woman to serve as president of a country from 1974 to 1976? Indira Gandhi, Isabel Perón, or Vigdis Finnbogadottir? Isabel Perón. Which company launched the first Walkman in 1979? Bose, Sony, or Sennheiser? Sony. Which rock band formed in 1976? AC/DC, U2, or The Police? U2. In which country did the 1973 to 75 Wollo Tigray famines occur? Somalia, Yemen, or Ethiopia? Ethiopia. The first professional model of what sport went on sale in 1964? Hacky sack, frisbee, or ping pong? Frisbee. Where did the majority of the Troubles, 1960s to 1998 conflict occur? Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, or Great Britain? Northern Ireland. From 1979, for how many years did Margaret Thatcher serve as Prime Minister of the UK? 15, 13, or 11? 11. Discovered in 1978, which planet is Charon a moon of? Neptune, Uranus, or Plato? Pluto. Which War of Independence lasted from 1964 to 1974? Haiti, Mozambique, or Indonesia? Mozambique. What did Richard Nixon's signature 1968 photo pose symbolize? Victory, peace, or unity? Victory. Which two states are connected by the John F. Kennedy Memorial Bridge opened in December 1963? Kentucky and Missouri, Kentucky and Indiana, or Kentucky and Ohio? Kentucky and Indiana. Which NASA spacecraft launched on September 5th, 1977? Venturer 1, Vagabond 1, or Voyager 1? Voyager 1. Which militant group carried out the 1972 Munich massacre at the Summer Olympic Games? Black September, Al-Qaeda, or the Hezbollah? Black September. Who celebrated their Silver Jubilee in 1977? Queen Margaret II, Wilhelmina of the Netherlands, or Queen Elizabeth II? Queen Elizabeth II. Which civil war did not take place in the 1960s? Nigerian Civil War, Lebanese Civil War, or Chadian Civil War? The Lebanese Civil War. Which writer went into exile in Venezuela in 1973? Isabel Allende, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, or Mario Vargas Llosa? Isabel Allende. Which nuclear disaster occurred on March 28, 1979? Chernobyl, Lucens, or 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania? Three Mile Island in Pennsylvania. Which uprising began on January 5, 1968? Prague Spring, the Chechen Revolution, or Georgian demonstrations? Prague Spring. Question 81. What was the world's population closest to by 1979? 3.5 billion, 4.5 billion, or 5.5 billion? $4.5 billion. What type of dogs were U.S. President Lyndon B. Johnson's pets from 1963 to 1969? Golden Retrievers, Poodles, or Beagles? Beagles. What music scene emerged in 1977? Hair metal, synthwave, or punk? Punk. Which events shook in the US in July and August 1969? Man on the Moon, Manson family murders, or final Beatles performance? Manson family murders. Which novel was adapted by Andy Warhol in 1965 and Stanley Kubrick in 1971? A Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon, or Lolita? A Clockwork Orange. Which craze began in the 1970s? Laser tag, aerobics, or roller disco? Roller disco. Which sports network began in 1979? Monumental Sports Network, CBS-SN, or ESPN? ESPN. Which artist's son, Ziggy, was born in 1968? Stevie Wonder, Ringo Starr, or Bob Marley? Bob Marley. Which U.S. clothing brand began in 1969? Gap Incorporated, Old Navy, or Banana Republic? Gap. What was the Green Revolution that continued in the late 1960s? Second Agricultural Revolution, Third Agricultural Revolution, or the Fourth Agricultural Revolution? Third Agricultural Revolution. How many assassination attempts were there on U.S. President Gerald Ford in 1975? 2, 4, or 6? 2. Which war began in December 1979? The Iran-Iraq War, the Ugandan-Bush War, or the Soviet-Afghan War? The Soviet-Afghan War. Which cartels imported cocaine en masse to the U.S. from the 1970s onwards? Colombian, Cuban, or Costa Rican? Colombian. Which political movement emerged from 1960s counterculture? New Marxist, New Left, or New Wave? New Left. At what point of the 1975 film does the eponymous Jaws appear? 21 minutes into the film, 51 minutes into the film, or 1 hour and 21 minutes into the film? 1 hour and 21 minutes into the 2-hour film. Which industry ceased in Australia in 1978? Fur hunting, whaling, or bounty hunting? Whaling. What 1974 sitcom preceded Mork and Mindy? The Love Boat, Happy Days, or The Dukes of Hazzards? Happy Days. What employment trend marked the US in the 1960s? The rise in retiring workers, highest post-war job growth, or decline in skilled workers? Highest post-war job growth. Which actress popularized the 70s flip hairstyle? Tatum O'Neal, Ally McGraw, or Farrah Fawcett? Farrah Fawcett. And last question, which chip snack brand did not launch in the 1960s? Doritos, Cheetos, or Pringles? Cheetos. And we have our bonus question. What 1978 film introduced us to Danny and Sandy? Let us know the answer in the comments as well as your score. Thanks for playing this quiz. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will see you next time.